I actually started traveling at a very young age. I have pictures of when I was a year old on the beach in the Keys in my little rubber duckies.
Curiosity is kind of the key to life, isn't it?
Deep curiosity, like keep finding out, see what's out there and keep going.
The child part of life.
Traveling has been part of my lifestyle for a long time. I spent 20 years in the Navy flying C-130s, and I've been to places all over the world. And I always wanted to go back to all these places. We're people watchers.
That's what we like to do, is see how the locals live.
Because we'd rather go eat where the locals want to eat, not necessarily where
The Michelin stars are.
Travel for me is enriching. I've always been interested in travel ever since I can remember as a little boy. I remember once my father brought me a map of the United States, and I circled areas I wanted to see. I knew that then I wanted to see the world.
Travel means to me expanding your knowledge, expanding your world, understanding how the world operates.
It's the connections with other people that we really appreciate. It just makes the whole world feel not so big.
Right.
It's just so amazing.
Yep. It's life-changing, really.
May of 2023. A truly remarkable moment for Oceania Cruises.
I hereby name this ship Vista.
We welcomed Vista, one of the most anticipated ships of the year. She represents the future of Oceania Cruises. She is the launching pad to our dazzling and dynamic tomorrow. And tomorrow has arrived. Let's go. With Allura, the journey continues. A journey that leads to one place, the ultimate Oceania Cruises experience. Embark on the irresistible thrill of striking out into the unknown, the sweeping freedom of exploration. Experience the world in the essence of greater luxury. Allura's inaugural journeys have been thoughtfully curated to appeal to seasoned global travelers. Whether you delight in reconnecting with favorite destinations or you're excited to discover new places and sights for the first time. We can't wait to welcome you aboard Allura for her inaugural season in 2025. Your world is calling.
Wow. Wow. What a beautiful ship. You know, and I was so enraptured, I forgot to put my special glasses on just for you, Guilliaume. Hi, Guilliaume.
Nice.
How are you, man?
Hey, how are you doing, Waller? Great to see you.
I was watching, that's like, I don't know, it's like the 10th time I've seen that video, and it's like just gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's kind of like hairs on the back of your neck kind of stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely. So these are appropriate for going on Serena, correct?
Sure, you can absolutely wear those. It's your world, your way, Waller. Please remember that.
My world. Well, that is my way, my friend. I'm totally going to do that. Hey, everybody. Welcome tonight. I am Walter from Where's Walter Travel, your independent travel advisor. And tonight, I'm so excited to welcome back Guilliaume from Oceania Cruises. Guilliaume, you have been one of our most popular guests so far.
Wow. I'm glad I was invited back.
You were invited back. And I'll tell you what, the first time you were on here, I said, hey, you know what? I haven't even booked one yet, and I really appreciate you coming on. And literally the next day, we booked our first one, and then a week later, we start talking about Alaska. So thank you so very much for coming back.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, thank you very much for letting your guests know a little bit about us. I know, I was just chatting with you earlier and saying, kind of some of the differences that we've got, and just some of my personal experiences. I was just saying to Walter that it's very funny. I've been on kind of some social media channels recently, and it's like discussion boards about different lines and like, is this going to be my first cruise and recommending this and X, Y, Z. And it's funny how there's like zero chat about Oceania and included in all that. You know, it's kind of all the go-to people, you know, the mainstream guys that pretty much everybody seems to be familiar with. And, you know, it's great that you're kind of getting that little bit of a message out about Oceania. Just how we kind of differentiate a little bit on how, our whole experience and some of the things that we're trying to deliver. You know, just saw the video there with Frank Jr. That was a great event where we were having our christening of the Oceania Vista this year. That was back in the spring. It was a great family affair, actually. We had, you know, Frank Sr. was the founder of Oceania Cruises. He was handing off the mantle to Frank Jr., who's now our acting president of Oceania Cruises. Yeah, just a really fantastic fanfare, all in all, really, with the introduction of Vista.
Well, you know, hey, Tara. Hi, Nurse Tara. How are you? Thanks so much for joining in, and everybody else, thanks so much for joining in tonight. And hey, if you got questions about Oceania Cruises, please do jump in. We've been leaning a lot more into Oceania Cruises of late as we've gotten to know the brand a little bit more, because, you know, in the beginning, there's this, luxury. I'm not even going to go to the website because I don't even want to know. But once you go to the Oceania website, you're like, I do want to know, because we were just talking off camera. We're not going to talk about the brand or the ship, but how, like, for the price of an interior on some other cruise ships, that just gets you a cabin, really, for just a little bit more. I can get that same interior on your cabin, but now I've got, you know, shore excursion. I've got all my meals. I've got my Wi-Fi. I've got everything that comes with what you guys have. So I think that's where that discussion needs to start happening, because people are used to celebrity. They're used to princess. They're used to like Virgin Voyages and Royals and all, and your sister company, Norwegian. But Oceania starts to fall into that discussion because your pricing, the value that you get is unbelievable for what we pay.
And all of that value that we try and build in, there's quite a lot of intangibles about it. You know, that kind of really builds into our pillars and where we were first founded. You know, unless you've kind of been on board, it's difficult to kind of pick up the vibe until you know. And then, you know, unless you've had our cuisine, it's, you know, until you've tasted that food, it's really difficult to know. Or unless you're going into those destinations and those niche ports of call, and how we do these things slightly differently, until you've been there and experienced it, it's hard to know. So, you know, it's very easy to kind of go and see some of these, you know, the bells and whistles on some of these other ships. Definitely one thing that I say is that as the ships these days, you know, they're getting larger and larger. There's more technology getting sunk into these ships. You know, the ship that we were just discussing, I mean, there's more people on that ship than the town I grew up in, Scotland. And really, I mean, those ships are becoming a destination unto themselves. Whereas an Oceania, I guess, we can always describe our guests as what we call curious travelers. So as you saw in the lead up to this video, the guy circling all the places that he wanted to go in the United States. Now, obviously, we've got people that circle all the places that they want to go to in the world. So the destination is still the destination for them. And it's you know, the ship itself, it's for us, it's more of like a mode of transport, but in a way that you're comfortable. So that's kind of, again, where some of those intangibles there lie within. So, yeah.
And for those of you who have not experienced, I'm going to start here. Guillaume's got some wonderful pillars and things to talk about, but I'm going to throw this right up on the screen now. If you've never been on Oceania, you kind of have a chance to tag along. Rebecca and I, for the first time ever, we are cruising Christmas and New Year's, and we're doing it on. Now, we have seen these R-class ships import pretty much since we started cruising. And it's always been one of those things, you know, you look over the railing and you go, man, I wonder what it's like on that ship. And now we're going to find out, like after almost 20 years of cruising, we're finally going to be getting on the Serena. So for those of you watching, if you want to tag along, trust me, I will be posting as much content as I can. We're on TikTok, Threads, we're here on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook. But the Oceania Serena, December 22nd through January 3rd. what is 672 passengers, right, Guillaume?
No, we actually cap out at 650 passengers on our class ships.
Excuse me, I went way too far.
Oh,
650.
Yeah.
Whoa, Wally, that's too big, man. 672, that's too big.
It's interesting because, like, for 650, we've done a couple of tweaks here and there. We used to actually have about 672, as you mentioned. But what we've done is we've actually, with the introduction of the Vista, one of the things that we did here, and sorry, I'm always ones that goes off on tangents here, and I'm super geeky when it comes to ships.
Awesome.
But one of the things that we introduced on Vista was we actually introduced solo staterooms on board the Vista.
Right.
It's a growing market and segment. There's more and more people interested in that part of the travel itself. And from that, the popularity of those staterooms was that we're like, hey, we're kind of on a good thing here. So because of that, we actually on our R-class ships. So we have we have 4 different types of R-class ships. So they're Serena, the Insignia, the Regatta, and the Nautica. And because of the popularity of the solo staterooms on the Vista, we retrofitted our ocean view staterooms on the Serena. Now, or on those R-class ships, should I say. So all our R-class ships have solo staterooms. Now, the great thing I would really recommend is actually on the R-class ships, I would recommend the solo staterooms over and above our newest ship, the Vista. The reason for that is because all those staterooms used to be double occupancy staterooms. So you get like great value and great room because you're in not a solo stateroom, but you're technically in a double stateroom, but we're classing that as a solo stateroom now. So those are some pretty cool options that we've done. And hence, because of that, we've kind of dropped the passenger count on the R-class ship. So we're maximum 650 passengers there.
Wow. Hey, Jen and Stephen, hello. Thank you. And again, hey, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. If you're new to the channel, hey, definitely click that little like button, click subscribe, do all that good stuff that YouTube wants you to do. I'm Walter, your independent travel advisor with Where's Walter Travel. We've got Guillaume joining us from Oceania. And look at that. I mean, that is just such a thing of beauty. Just right there. The Serena, it's just gorgeous. It's just an absolutely gorgeous. I can't believe we're actually going to be getting on that ship. I'm so excited.
It's great, you know, and the great thing about it, Walter, again, it kind of goes into one of our pillars. Like we talk about our ships, and the pillar that we have based around our ships is just these small luxurious ships. Essentially, the way that we kind of differentiate on our ships are in a few different ways. So obviously, one passenger count there, we've kind of mentioned that being at 650 passengers. Our newer vessels, they sit around about 1,200 passengers. But one of the things you're going to definitely notice is whilst you're on board that ship of 650 passengers, we've got over 400 crew on board. So we've got like a pretty much like 1.5 to 1 guest ratio on board that vessel. So you're really going to get, pampered whilst on board. The service levels are great. One of the things that we actually train our crew on is what we call anticipatory service. So what that means is that these guys are trying to meet your needs before you're even thinking about them. You know, if you're kind of at the pool and your glass is getting kind of halfway down, you're going to be asked about getting another drink. If you're the type, you're ordering steak and you're asking for green mustard. And how long are you on there for? You're on for like just over 10 days there. If you order a second time, if you order a second time there, Walter, you're more likely not. You're going to get that green mustard coming along with it, right? So that's kind of where we try and train the crew up. And again, it's one of those intangibles where, until you get on board, until you're feeling that with the crew, and really, it's funny. The crew really kind of tie in the whole ship experience all together. There's a lot of other intangibles that go on board, especially with those R-class vessels. The R-class vessels, one of the things that's fantastic about them, we've got such fantastic art on board those vessels, like really unique pieces, where, we've got like original Picassos, we've kind of got some original Dali sculptures on board. And it's just, it's just this experience whilst on board that we want you as a guest to relax. It really is like a feel of a boutique hotel, essentially. For example, you guys might be familiar, well, used to, you kind of, when you're getting on board, first of all, you're going through the photo gallery. You've got somebody taking photos of you before you get on board. We have none of that. We don't have the art auctions. Granted, if you see a piece of art that you do really fancy, you can have a discussion about it, but we're not hunting art auctions. We're we're trying to have that relaxed experience for whilst you're on board. Kind of one of the mantras is that whilst on board, we've got really great social areas. Oceania guests, they're a pretty social bunch. So whilst on board, there's always great martinis bars, like always a great meet-up place prior to going for dinner. Again, just a place where, a guy playing a piano, you got, that light entertainment prior to dinner. You might even have a string quartet actually prior to dinner as well.
Nice.
And really the thinking about the ship itself is that whilst you're on board, we want you to have that great level of service. We want to have you that relaxed vibe. Essentially, as mentioned, you're going for that destination. You're hunting for Europe. You're going out to South America. You're going to all these fantastic exotic places. So you're generally out and about during the day. So whilst you're back on board, we want you to relax and recharge so that you're fresh for the next day, so you can go back out at it. Right? You're going to go for that long day and that long visit into Rome, so the next day you kind of want to get into Sorrento and you're wanting to check it out as well. So that's kind of the ethos of us whilst on board, and that's kind of one of the pillars that we play into our ships. The other part as well, and definitely represented from the future of the brand, that's what we're talking about with the Vista and the Allura. The design aspects on those ship is just absolutely fantastic. I've just actually recently come off the Vista. The ship is just absolutely gorgeous. We've pulled no stops out. Like when we were building the Vista, we actually so she was launched in May of this year. She was kind of ready to set sail as of January of the year previous to it. So we put her out for sea trials in like January of 2022. But when we brought her back into the dry dock, when it goes out for sea trials, it's kind of just like a hull of a ship. Essentially, we just need to make sure all the engineering's working, the ship floats, so it can come back. But all those engineering aspects, that's what we're checking out. When we brought her back in, it took us like a full 15 months to fit the interior of the vessel.
Wow.
So we had like artists and craftsmen on board. I guarantee you there's probably some mountain in Italy that's completely missing because the amount of marble that's been sunk into the ship is just unbelievable. When I was on board as well, one of the really interesting things, we actually had the designers of the ship on board the vessel. And they did a presentation whilst on board. It was fantastic. Like we got to learn so much about the ethos of their thinking about how to build the ship. And one of the cool things about the Vista, and it's really funny, like there's all these little small elements that add up to make this huge, like great experience whilst on board. But one of the designers is like, listen, when we finish this presentation, go back into your stateroom and look at the carpet. And everybody's like, what? Look at the carpet. And he's like, yeah, our carpets have no dye in them. What we've designed this element is that we've actually got different color of sheep wool in the carpet. Instead of using dye elements, we wanted to make it a little bit more environmentally sustainable, but we also wanted to do this unique element of design on board the ship. So on board this, in our staterooms, we actually have no dye in our carpet. So even though it's a brand new ship, you're getting that new ship smell to it, but it's not like that kind of overpowering chemically smell that you usually tend to get.
Goodness.
It's the design aspect of that ship is just absolutely incredible. So and again, it goes a long way into it. As I was saying with the crew, it just kind of ties into this great onboard experience for you guys. It's just a relaxing environment for you to be in, so that you can discover and go out. As we were saying with our pillars there, one thing that I can say about our pillars is, it's a great message to deliver on, in that we're trying to make this differentiation about our ships. We're trying to definitely differentiate about our cuisine. and really about the destinations that we go into. But like as a marketing message for a cruise line, it's a bit of a sucky one, honestly, because every cruise line talks about exactly the same three things, right? Everybody loves to talk about how great their ships are. Everybody wants to talk about how great their ports are. And, especially every cruise line wants to talk about how great the cuisine is. So definitely with the cuisine aspect, if you don't know Oceania Cruises for anything else, really it's our cuisine. Our cuisine, one thing as part of that crew that we were mentioning, so we've got almost 1.5 to 1 guest crew ratio, but for every 10 guests, we actually have one chef. So
what?
So for example, the Vista, it's about 1,200 passengers. We've got slightly over 800 crew on board that vessel. About half of that crew is dedicated to the culinary side of things alone.
Wow.
So it goes a long way. So again, until you've tasted the food, until you've seen the difference that we can bring with the cuisine, again, so many cruise lines really talk about how great their cuisine is, but we really, we feel it's kind of our title. We call it the finest cuisine at sea. And one of the things, Walter, that we really want everybody to go into is like we really want everybody to enjoy the cuisine. So as part of that, we include all of our specialty restaurants included in the cost. So today I just wanted to give a little bit of a taste of some of the restaurants, specialty restaurants that we have on board.
Wow.
So, for example,
and in case you missed what he just said, he said all of the specialty restaurants. So everything that you're seeing on the screen right now, there is no extra charge when you walk onto the ship. All of this is included in your cruise fare.
We just simply ask for a reservation at one of those restaurants, and you're good to go from there. Our standard ones from the very get-go is that we've always had Polo Grill and we've always had Tuscanas. So, Polo Grill is really the classic steakhouse there. That's where you're going to get, your 36-ounce porter steak, or your full Maine lobster that will we bring in fresh. We, no matter where we are in the world, we work with a family or fishermen in Maine that we've worked for a number of years, and we have this fresh Maine lobster that we're able to bring on board. Toscana's is like great Italian fare, where we make everything from scratch. So that goes all the way into the pasta that we offer. Everything's made from scratch. There's very few things that are frozen on board. Even like it goes into the pastries in the morning. Those are all freshly made. With Toscanas, one of the highlights as well with Toscanas is that when you get brought to your table, the maitre d' is going to bring over a little trolley for you. And on that trolley, there's a whole variety of different olive oils and balsamic vinegars. So you make your own little combination.
Oh my God. Dude, you are so talking my language. Oh, I'm so excited.
You get this wonderful bread basket that's just, again, freshly made for you. You get to dip in that olive oil and that.
Man, can we just get to December 22nd already? I'm ready to get on the ship. Oh,
and then the unique thing with the Serena is that we actually have red ginger. So red ginger is available not on every single ship. So red ginger is available in the Vista. It's available in the Serena. It's available in the Marina and the Riviera. Those are kind of custom built ships as well. And this is fantastic Asian fusion cuisine here. This is like, and always rated #1 as part of our specialty restaurants. It's just, these fantastic bold flavors from Asia. One of my particular favorites, and you got to try it when you're on board there, Walter.
We are so trying it. and then you were talking about, we actually have like a little bit of an interesting mix on just Serena, because we've got the Tuscan grill or something, right?
Grill. That's right. So one of the things, so on board all our R class, it's Toscanas and Polo Grill all the way. But Serena, we actually introduced red ginger onto Serena. And we kind of amalgamated Polo Grill and Toscanas to make what we call Tuscan steak. So it's kind of all the favorites from the Italian restaurant and all the favorites from the steak restaurant. And we combine those two so that everybody has the ability to actually have red ginger on board the Serena as well. You got to try the crispy duck and watermelon salad though there, Walter. That's it's a real that one I gotta say is one of my favorites. That's a really bit of unique, bold flavors there, but definitely worth trying. I recommend that one.
Oh, nice.
And then moving on to the Vista, we've actually introduced a couple of new options in there as well. So, it's not all about steak and lobster. Wellness is definitely something that's becoming more and more popular these days. So we've introduced what we call Aquamar Kitchen. So our spa is called Aquamar. And as part of that, we kind of have a wellness thought throughout this sailing. So we not only do we pair Aquamar, our spa, we pair it with a kitchen on board the Vista, where we have like healthy eating choice options. So, if you feel like, 12 days, it's a long time to be going for steak and lobster there, Walter, So if you want to freshen things up, exactly, if you want to freshen things up, one of the things in the spa, we've got free fitness classes that you can join. So you can kind of work off some of that steak and lobster there. But then at lunchtime, the Aquamar, it offers like great poke bowls, offers like a variety of different choices, avocado toast, all the young people like that these days. Just a kind of a little bit of a freshen option there for you as well. We've also introduced what we call Amber, which is our it's kind of our newest iteration. It's kind of like an Oceania twist on American classics. So a lot of people think because we're more of like leaning a little bit towards the luxury side, they think a little bit more formality. So for example, on the Marina and the Riviera, we partner with one of our founding chefs was Jacques Pepin. So Jacques Pepin, very famous, from our Julia Child era. We have Jacques on board the Marina and the Riviera. But where I describe Jacques, it's very fine French cuisine. It's the kind of place I would take my wife to on an anniversary. Whereas Amber, I feel, I was kind of, personally, I'm half French. So, like French cuisine is the be all and end all for me. And bringing on an Amber on Vista, and we don't actually have Jacques on Vista. And I was like, I'm so disappointed we don't have Jacques anymore on Vista. But so I was a little bit apprehensive about Amber, but actually being on board myself, I did a full 180 on Amber. And I was like, I'll bring my wife to Jacques for an anniversary. Plus, as Amber, it's a place I'd take my wife to on a Friday night. It's great cuisine. It's just mac and cheese, lobster, mac and cheese. We got great pork chop, if you can believe that. Who does a great pork chop? In Amber, they do a fantastic pork chop. So it's kind of a little bit of a newer twist. It's maybe a little bit less formal, and a little bit more accessible to everybody. So it's not, it doesn't quite include all that kind of formality. Now, one thing though, we don't have any formal nights on board. So don't be kind of, it's a very common misconception that, being on Oceania and kind of going up to the luxury market, it's a little bit more black tie. It goes in that relaxation whilst you're on board. Nobody taking photographs of you. Nobody kind of hassling you for that. You don't have to go in your suit and jacket to get to the main dining room as well. So, that's always in kind of one of those intangibles you don't really think about, but it makes a big difference whilst you're on board.
It does, because you just want to relax. I mean, you really do want to relax. So and by the way, folks, I know while we're talking, you're seeing that graphic over there next to Guilliaume. We do have, if you want to come experience, Oceania, maybe you don't want to go by yourself. We do have a really nice group going up to Alaska. In fact, I'll just put up my slide for the moment. Guillaume's got a lovely slide as well. But it is the Gems of the Last Frontier. It's the Riviera. It's actually going to be the Riviera's first season in Alaska.
It is.
And we're going to be there for the 4th of July.
Cool. We're super excited to have the Riviera. Personally, I'm actually from Vancouver, BC. We've had the regatta up here for Alaska for like the past umpteen years. So we're really excited to be receiving the Riviera for 2025. It's going to be.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, I'll say my last little bit here, which is if you notice, we do have exclusive group amenities. Now, one of the few things that Oceania actually doesn't have in their Simply More is the gratuity. But if you join our group, we're actually taking care of the gratuity. Plus, we have an upgrade to the Prestige Select Drink Package. Now, I got a little bit ahead of us on the Simply More, and Guilliaume was actually just about to explain a little bit more about that. But if you're thinking about joining, or if you want to go on Oceania and maybe you want to go with some other folks, I think we've got about 8 or 10 cabins already sold on this cruise. So you're going to have a nice little group of folks. We're going to be in Alaska for 12 days, 8 ports, and long port stops too. So,
yeah, it's great. And then, really take those amenities really kind of hit home, because essentially, you know, one thing, we're not quite an all-inclusive cruise line. So we have one standard offer. So if you're looking at basically any other sailing currently with Walter, you'll find what we call Simply More on everything else. And this is kind of, again, it's been quite an exciting year for Oceania. One, with the launch of the new ships of the Vista. 2, we actually announced the launch of her sister ship for 2025, the Allura, which is going to be in the same class. And then 3, this is kind of the hat trick here, is that we've created a brand new offer called Simply More. So it's just trying to bring a little bit more value back to you as clientele. You know, we've been quite a unique player within the marketplace, definitely since our founding 20 years ago. Actually, sorry, we're celebrating our 25th year this year, which is absolutely crazy. But yes, with that, what we wanted to do was we wanted to bring a little bit more value back to the overall in the marketplace. And we created this one offer called Simply More. So definitely one thing is that we have always had our 2-for-1 cruise fares included. One thing that we always include as well is our round trip transfers. Now, the great thing with the round trip transfers as well, where we've brought even more value back, was that normally those airfare was for arrival day of. Now, one of the things that we've extended is that you can actually fly up to 3 days prior and up to 3 days post with no additional charge. We can actually make it even further. If you wanted to go up to 3 weeks prior and 3 weeks post, we have that opportunity. There's a charge included with that if you wanted to kind of extend it out that far. But most people are pretty comfortable going in like 1 or 2 days early. So, and that's for major gateways throughout North America. You know, and even if you're not part of one of those major gateways, you know, again, being from Canada, just because it's next door, I know exactly. Is that Calgary's not classed as a main gateway. So if you want, but that's not to say you can't fly out of Calgary. We just we do what we call a secondary gateway, and there's a bit of a fee involved with that. But you know, we could get you all the way from Calgary to Singapore, and then back from Cape Town back to Calgary for that minimal fee. Now, as part of Simply More, and this is really where it's a big game changer as well, is that now we're actually going to include shore excursions throughout the sailing. Now, depending on the length of your sailing, what we do is we give you a shipboard credit or a shore excursion credit for those excursions. So, prime example, if you're going with Walter going up to Alaska, you can pick and choose the sailings. You guys have got $800 credit. So, you know, if you guys are kind of so inclined and, you know, you want to kind of go all out to Alaska and you want to fly over the glacier in a helicopter, you can use all that credit towards that one excursion if you so wish. You know, it's not the cheapest thing to be flying across the glaciers and helicopters. Having said that, you know, if you don't want to go too all out and you want to have some short excursions here, you wanted to kind of do, you know, a boat trip over here, you want to see some of the wildlife over there, you can chop and change. It's a la carte there, right? Where you can select from the short excursions that we have available. We usually have those available a year out, so you guys will probably have to wait another kind of 6 months before we're organizing the excursions there. But that's one.
I love that. The short excursion credit is fabulous.
It makes life kind of so easy for everybody in that, you know, you can choose where and when you want to go. So the short excursions aren't going to be included. Normally, again, with Simply More, we will include our beer, wine, and champagne with lunch and dinner. Obviously, with Walter's group there, we've got the upgrade, though, to the all-inclusive package. So with Walter's group, if you want to have that 2 o'clock in the afternoon cocktail, or, you know, if your tootsies are a little cold coming back from one of those glaciers, you know, and you need something a little bit a little cognac to kind of warm the cockles of your heart, that would be included as part of our drinks package. So yeah, you guys have got a great opportunity there with that all-inclusive package. You really don't have to think about it. So if you want a glass of wine with dinner, no problem. If you want a martini before dinner, no problem. If you want to, you want to have that margarita on the pool deck. You guys are going to have a great time of year.
Whale watching with margaritas. I mean, come on. That has a song. There's a song in there somewhere.
Somewhere, no doubt, right? And then the great thing too, again, these small things that we don't really like, it all adds up, right? Generally, when we're on board, we usually tend to have a naturalist on board. So we usually have somebody explaining all about the wildlife. When I was sailing up there, the naturalist or the captain gave her permission to go onto the bridge, and she was spotting whales as we were sailing up the inside passage. She was calling them out over the public areas so that you wouldn't miss it. It was great. Obviously, again, you've got all that specialty dining included as well. We want you to be connected as well. So we have unlimited Wi-Fi. That's for 2 devices as well. So that would be, if you're on your phone, then, or you're on your laptop, you can have that included as well. Hopefully by that time, we are retrofitting to have it all. I always call it Skynet, but that's the thing from Terminator. Starlink, that's the one, right? Yeah, so it's not Terminator.
I swear the rockets are going off about every 3 days out of my backyard. They're shooting off. They're putting up so many satellites right now.
So we're going to be retrofitting the Riviera to have Starlink included on it. So hopefully by that, fingers crossed. The plan is to have it by 2024. Cruise industry is always a changing thing, so can't promise just anything just yet. But fingers crossed by that time, you guys will have Starlink on board. So you guys will be super connected as well, but it's going to be included as part of Simply More.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, in order to put some of this into perspective, if you've been used to going on Celebrity, maybe you've stayed in the Aqua class, you've stayed in a concierge, certainly if you stayed in a retreat, if you've gone on Norwegian, you've gone on Princess, you stay in some of these suites. We are talking about right in the same line of pricing as that, maybe a touch more. But keep in mind that when you pay that, say that Aqua class on Celebrity, you get the thermal suite. That's included. And I think you might get like an area of a restaurant. But here, it's like your airfare's in there and the Wi-Fi and just everything is in there. So when you think luxury, I think that's part of what some people don't even want to look at your page. But I encourage you, start looking at Oceania and take a look at the itineraries. And just touching on the itineraries, one of the most amazing things for me, we've been cruising in the Caribbean almost 20 years. We're going on the Serena on December 22nd. We're going to 4 ports we've never been to. And I don't even know how many cruises we've taken in the Caribbean. And there's 4 ports on one cruise that we've never been to. So you design your itineraries. Yeah, we hit some of the ones that everybody knows, but then there's ports that, the big ships can't get in there, or there's just not enough money in it for them to go there. So they're like, our people don't want to see it. And you're like, no, let's go there. And by the way, let's stay here for 10 hours. So you got plenty of time to go off and do your thing.
And that's the other thing too, as well. It's like, even if you're sometimes going to those larger, more well-known ports to call, we try and design our itineraries where, we're either the only port or the only ship in port that day, or we're maybe one of the few ports. Vancouver is a prime example of that. When I'm out of Vancouver, we're very rarely in Vancouver over the course of the weekend, because that's when all the big guys are in. We're usually there on a Thursday or a Friday, where we're either the only ship, so you can just stroll straight on board, or we're one of 2 other small ships. So again, that's kind of one of the differences where we try and deliver differently on our destination experience. We're really trying to immerse you into that local experience. It's very much about discovery of new ports. It's very much trying to get in with where the locals are. It's a bit of more of a unique experience when you're sailing with Oceania Cruises overall.
It's very
and
cool.
Again, that's built into that ethos. I was telling Walter before the chat here, those three pillars that we've had, we've had those from day one, and we've never veered from those. We've really tried true and tested to those. We're not one of these one of those cruise lines that are trying to reinvent ourselves every 3 years. We know who our clientele are. We know the experience that they covet, and we want to deliver on that experience in a different way. So that definitely one of the things, if you look at an Oceania sailing, take a look at some of our extended sailings. Those are just incredible. We have some really unique sailings. We have a 111-day cruise starting from Tahiti that goes into Australia, goes into South Asia, and then we dip down into South Africa, and we'll actually cruise the west coast of Africa, where very few cruise lines do that, to go all the way up and finish in Paris. 111 days, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty long. Granted, not everybody has 111 days worth of PTO, but some of our clientele do have that time.
I will say, so we were just researching a Panama Canal cruise, and Panama Canal is a pretty standard cruise. Yep. You have one, I don't remember which ship, but it's 20 days. It's both ways. So you start in Florida, you go all the way through to Panama Canal, you stay a day on the other side. And by the way, it's like a Western Caribbean cruise. Then you go through to Panama Canal, stay in Panama for a day. You come back, and then you do an ABC before you come back. Yeah. So it's like the Panama Canal, Western Caribbean, ABC, all in 20 days, one cruise. It's phenomenal. And I mean, the price is like spot. I was like, are you kidding me? Wait, this can't be right. What an amazing itinerary. I want to do it so bad.
It's one of our really popular ones. Again, Panama, sometimes we do it slightly differently. So sometimes we start from Miami and then we'll end up in Lima, Peru. We don't always want to do like what's always typical when it comes to, the LA to Florida. It's been kind of done to death. So we want to try and freshen up those itineraries a little bit. And definitely, that's one thing I would definitely say, if you find a sailing that you're interested with, Walter, like strike while the iron's hot. It's sometimes like, because our guests are so wanting to find those new destinations, we don't always repeat all our cruises. So if you find it one year, it's not necessarily going to happen the next year. So don't rest on your laurels, so to speak. You want to, if you find that unique itinerary that's kind of what you want to do, it's not necessarily that we'll do it next year, because our guests are continuing looking for the next place to go to. So we need to kind of cater to that need. Again, if there's that unique Panama sailing, or if there's that unique 111-day Papeete to Barcelona sailing, don't rest on your laurels. Like, you really think about it.
I mean, you don't have you have a small fleet, so if you just keep repeating the same thing, that's going to get old. So you've got to mix it up. And when I saw that, I was like, how cool is this? Because you could have just simply ran through the canal back and forth, and that would have been 13 days. We're done. Yep. But you put together literally 3 different cruises into one. Yeah. And it's just spectacular. Yeah. Spectacular.
And it's not just it's not all about those long sailings. We have sailings as short as 7 days. We have, our niche, I would say, like our sweet spot, should I say, is more in that kind of 10 to 12 day range. We do some fantastic Mediterranean itineraries, some great Scandinavian itineraries. Iceland's been like the hot destination for the last couple of years, or the last 4 or 5 years. So we've got some really unique ports to call in there. We'd love you to experience Oceania Cruises. I think that kind of goes into the next slide there, Walter. And really, the opportunity, as we really tend to say here, is that as it is, 'tis the season, as they say, right? So we've launched what we call our Happy Holiday Sale. Really, this year, again, it's been quite unique for us. The Vista has brought in so many new clientele to Oceania Cruises. But the other thing that we've really found that's spurred a lot of new to brand clientele coming on Oceania Cruises is some of these new sales that we've had. So we've got up to
Sure.
like about $5,400 off that. So that's a saving of almost like anywhere between about 30 to 40%. So, you know,
Amazing.
if you've been with your traditional cruise line and, you know, you've been with them for a few years, actually, that was the one thing I was going to mention about Simply More as well, is that, you know, it's funny, I often get a lot of questions about, oh, guys, do you have like a policy match where, you know, we've been with this cruise line
Yeah.
for umpteen years. And
You
in
don't
all
need
honesty, we don't have one because we only, you know, we have we have so many inclusions from the get-go that you kind of have to be on a really high level with that other cruise line where it's just with the lead-in with us, right? So
Oh,
yeah.
seriously. I mean, you have to be triple diamond plus to get like everything that's here.
Exactly. So you know, it's yeah. But with this, we're passing on some fantastic savings back to you. So you know, again, if you're comparing apples to apples, and you know, if you've been with a cruise line for a number of different years, and you are used to kind of that pricing that they've had, and you compare us to, you know, the Neptune suite or the Aqua suite, or you know, the mini suite that you're used to with those other cruise lines.
Sure.
Honest, take a look. We're probably with the sale at a very comparable price point right in the moment. So it really is kind of the idea to get you in. Once you experience the difference on board, you'll understand why we want to do what you want to do, and it really kind of it makes more sense once you get on board, right? You're like, okay, we get it. We understand, like, there's no lineups because you've got smaller numbers. You get straight on the ship, you get straight off the ship. There's no waiting around. You know, it's just and again, it's a relaxing experience. It's kind of what cruising is meant to be. It's not like the rush and like, oh, we got to get to the show before, you know, everybody books the show out, right? It's not that way on board. Yeah.
Right. What we try to do with our client is when we do present an Oceania cruise, we try to present it, because it's hard. It is hard to do apple to apples, because unless you really know like what all the cruise lines are, and I think some of the cruise lines do that on purpose anyway, just to make it very hard. But we try to bring education to our client to show them, hey, this is what you're paying for, and then this is what you're paying on Oceania, and here's what it would cost you on this cruise line if you got everything that Oceania is giving you, and then that kind of opens the eyes up.
Well, as the old saying goes, right? There's always one price to get on the cruise, and there's a price to get off the cruise, right?
Another price to get off the cruise. So Aaron's got a good question here, and you did answer one of them earlier, but we'll do it again. How long has Oceania been around, and what is the typical age range?
So yeah, we've been in around sorry, I think I said 25 years. So it's 20 years. Sorry, we were founded in 2003. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's just I'm thinking 2025.
Gotcha.
So we've been around 20 years. So we've been around since 2003. And we started off with the R-class ships. We built our custom-built ships in 2013 and 2014. And so it's been about 10 years since we built a new ship. So having the Vista launch this year was so exciting. And then to have the Allura, her sister ship, launch. Those two ships, as Frank Jr. was mentioning there, they really do represent the future of the brand. They're just absolutely stunning. I actually used to work on ships, many. I've been on about 300 plus cruises. And I have to say, it's probably one of the most beautiful, exquisite ships that I've ever been on. It was just absolutely fantastic, without a lie. Now, typically our guests, our age demographic, it's a bit of a mixed bag. No matter, I would say typically in around 50 to 70 year demographic there, but still active enough where many of our guests want to do their own thing. So that's why we're not an all-inclusive cruise line. You're not going to get a cruise in every single port with us, because not all of our guests are looking for that. They may know that great little restaurant in Capri, but they've never been to Qatar before. So that's why we've built in our Simply More to be that flexible. Now, depending on the sailings, the longer sailings, we might skew a little bit older. If you're on 111 or world cruise, which is 180 days, you kind of have to be retired to be going on board for that amount of time.
Yeah, I want those people to adopt me and take me with them. That's what I want.
Right? But then, if you're going on, like for example, like these sailings that we have around about the Caribbean, they might skew a little bit younger. So you know, the short sailings, I would probably say typically you're going to see a lot of 40, 50, 60-year-olds on board. We do allow kids on board, so it's we're not super family friendly. We don't have any kids facilities on board. But if you do see kids on board, you know, it's only going to be a handful of kids at the very most. You know, I was lucky enough to bring my kids on board last year. And it was so funny. There were so many of our crew going up to my kids, and they're like, you know, like this was kind of coming out of the pandemic, so there was a lot of them that were like, "We haven't seen a kid in 4 months. Can I just like hang out with your kid for like 5 minutes?" It's just, and honestly, they were like treated like golden gods on board. Like people were falling over them just to be able to serve them. So it was great in that sense. Actually in Alaska, we do tend to get a few kids on board, so much so that we actually do a kids program on board. It's all to do with nature. It's actually, personally, I was like, can I do this? It sounds really neat. You know, they do lots of different activities. A lot of it's off the ship as well. You know, you're never going to get a ton of kids on board anyway. You know, we're kind of more of a, probably the best way to describe it, a growing up cruise line. You know, most people, the kids are at college or the kids have finished college.
Adult centric.
You know, yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Typically our demographic in and around about 50 to 70-year-old, but still very active and intrepid enough.
Yeah, and my mother-in-law was on the Riviera in the Mediterranean, and she said there were like just a couple of kids, and like all the grandparents were just like fawning right over them. Those kids were so well taken care of throughout the entire cruise. It was hilarious. So, folks, we've got about 10 minutes-ish left. If y'all have any questions for Guilliaume, you got questions about Oceania, you got questions about our group cruise coming up. In fact, Guilliaume made this beautiful map for me. It shows you exactly where we're going to be going. Except I think Haynes is something else.
Oh, is it going to replace it? Yeah, this was the one that I had on board the ship there.
There's like 2 12 nights, and one of them has Haynes and the other one doesn't. I think we're on the one that doesn't, but there's only one map.
But again, it kind of shows you how we go into a little bit differently. You know, most sailings up to Alaska are generally just 7 days in and out of Seattle. So you're usually in those 7 days, you're out of Seattle, you're getting Ketchikan, Juneau, the Glacier, and then you're maybe Sitka, and then you're on your way home.
Right.
But with us, as you can see, even in very remote places such as Alaska, we're trying to deliver that experience a little bit differently there as well. So again, a little bit of a longer sailing in the 12 days, but that kind of really immerses you in that destination where you can really explore it in the unique style that Oceania does. You know, again, you get your experience on board, you get the uniqueness of the itinerary whilst off the ship. It's just a wonderful experience. We really look forward to welcoming everybody on board from Where's Walter Travel.
Yeah. And, you know, even just a little thing like Victoria. So Victoria is always a throwaway stop for the Seattle because they have to go to Canada.
Right.
So it might be 2 hours, it might be 3 hours, it might be 4 hours, but on this cruise, it's going to be 12 hours. So we have the whole day and into the evening to really get off the ship, go explore Victoria, because Victoria is a gorgeous, gorgeous destination. And it's a shame that so many cruises, you really can't. And I don't get it because Seattle is so close. It's not that big a deal for these bigger ships to stay around for a while. But you guys are going to give us 12 hours, and I love it.
Well, what you guys will have to do is you guys will have to go through to the Empress Hotel, and you want to have a gin and tonic with Empress Gin. So it's this like very unique purple gin. It's just you guys will have to at least try and do that. Victoria is a great walkable city. That time of year, hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be beautiful sunshine. Just a very unique port of call as well. There's not many towns like Victoria, but yeah, great restaurant scene in Victoria as well. So yeah, if you got your 12 hours there, you can absolutely go out for like a
12
really
hours
unique
there.
meal. So yeah, please enjoy Victoria. It's just such a unique little city.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be amazing, and I'm so fortunate, one to be working with you, and two, I mean I'll be honest, I didn't know much about Oceania prior to coming on board. I was one of those people that said, oh, I probably don't even want to look at the website. I'll be terrified. I see your ships in port, they're beautiful. Like, yep, one day, not realizing that one day was probably 10 years ago, because we were paying those prices 10 years ago for mini suites and aqua class and all this other stuff that we could have been over on your ships all that time. It is remarkable to me. And you keep talking about Frank Jr., and a lot of people watching may know Frank Del Rio. He used to run Norwegian Cruise Line, which is actually the parent company of Oceania. Frank moved over to Oceania. Now his son is stepping into Oceania. So so who's running it.
Yeah, Frank was one of our founders, right? He was one of our founders of our line, and yeah, it was just it's been a really interesting like building of a legacy there. Well, Frank was definitely one of the powerhouses within the cruise industry over the last 20, 30 years. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it's funny, even though with Frank being CEO of Norwegian. And having Regent Seven Seas, our other sister company, as part of that there, you could always tell there was always that special place in his heart for Oceania Cruises, and that it was his baby from the get-go. And he, I mean, and we've kind of been able to, even though we're on the S&P 500, the stock market down in the States there. Even though we're a publicly traded company, we've always kind of had our own fashion to be able to work within ourselves to kind of still provide what we were from day one. So it's awesome. And it was great. That christening was actually it was a really they were saying, like, Frank was telling everybody prior to the christening event, he's like, everybody, you got to bring your hankies out. Everybody's got to bring the tissue out here, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house, as they say. So it was a great legacy to see Frank Jr. take over. And again, Frank Jr., president of the company. I can pick up a phone. I can have a chit chat with him at any point. He's an accessible guy. He wants the company to be run well, and he wants us to be empowered to be able to work with Walter to be able to provide an experience for you, for your clientele and for your guests to come on board and enjoy the experience that we have. So it's it's a family business at the end of the day, even though we're part of this big multinational conglomerate, and we're still feel like it's a family company.
It definitely feels that way. And folks, those of you watching, I mean, these are the kind of relationships that we're so honored to have. And Guilliaume is like one of these people that, like, what you're seeing here tonight, this is just, I ping him, we get on the phone, we start talking. And I was like, what do you think about a group to Alaska? He's like, yeah, what kind of help do you need? Let's put this thing together. And then he comes through and he's like, hey, by the way, we're adding the Prestige drink package. You're going to be the first one to get it on your group. I'm like, okay, let's do this.
We were learning together. It was funny because I'm not exactly sure how it was going to work, but here we are.
And it's so great. And it makes me so proud to be able to represent your brand and to work with you and just to showcase. That's what I love about these Thursday nights, to showcase and show how we all work together. And at the end of the day, folks, this is literally how it works. This is, if we have anything that I need to discuss with Oceania, this is the person I'm going to be calling on the other end of the line, and we're going to have a conversation and see what we can do. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is.
I love it. Well, my goodness, it's been an hour. Folks, I want to remind everybody, you tag along with Rebecca and I. If you really want to see Oceania up close and personal, we will be on the Serena December 22nd through January 3rd. We might try a live stream. Who knows? It's all up to the internet gods when we're out at sea. Who knows? We had a disastrous experience over Thanksgiving where it just didn't work on that ship. So who knows? We will try, but I'll certainly be posting content as much as I can from the ship. Certainly the food. Oh my God. I'm like over the moon. I cannot wait for the food. And so be sure to follow us on all of our social channels. I always forget to post YouTube shorts. So if you really want to follow along, make sure you're following me on TikTok. But I'll try to post your stuff up on Threads and Instagram and everywhere else. And I love this. We're going to leave you since it is the holidays. Guilliaume, what is this again?
So yeah, I was on board the Riviera 2 years ago, and just before the conversation, I was like, "Hey, I've got to send you this picture through it." And again, it's just kind of what we were just discussing. It's just a great family feel on board. This is our fantastic Christmas tree that we have on board the Riviera. I'm kind of, I was like, I just have to take a picture of this. It's so fantastic. So yeah. But yeah, absolutely. Like wishing everybody, the happiest of holidays and Merry Christmas. And, thank you for taking your time out to come learn a little bit more about Oceania Cruises. It's always great to be with Walter. It's yeah, glad we could do this.
Well, thank you, Guilliaume, and thank you to everybody who's watching. Again, if you have any questions about Oceania Cruises, just reach out to us at where'swaltertravel.com. There's links in the description down below. You can get in touch with us. You can also go directly. We have a whole web page dedicated to this Alaska group cruise. In fact, Guilliaume, you're kind of a fan of that web page, right? You think it's
fantastic.
Pretty good.
It was great. Yeah.
So if you want to know anything about this cruise, it's right there, and everything and how to get in touch with us and all of that good stuff. So Guilliaume, again, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And happy holidays to everybody. We'll see you out on the ship. We're going to be on a ship next week. We're going to be on the Serena in 2 weeks. So we'll see everybody out on the ship. Thank you so much for joining in, everybody. We'll see you Sunday morning at 10:30.